Hello and welcome back to another video. It is Cody, and today we will be going over the round one tipping for the footy. We just came off round zero. It was a bit interesting, but a bit, kind of whatever. But now we're back to the official stuff, to the real, the Carlton and Richmond games and all the whatnots. And, the classic way to start the season, and it begins now. And, let's get right into the tipping. Okay, starting off with today's game, Thursday. It is Carlton and Richmond. Now, as you can see, 94% of people have Carlton winning this game. I think I agree with that sentiment. I think Carlton should definitely get the win today. Richmond maybe can compete for a couple of quarters, but overall, I just can't see Richmond ever beating Carlton in this one. I think Carlton, especially after back of their win against Brisbane, they'll be feeling very confident. Maybe overly confident. Richmond can still pose a challenge, but I just think Richmond have a lot of work to do to rebuild and stuff. So yeah, I think Carlton should win. I'll give them 22 points. I think that's about the fair mark. Just that in and around that 4 goal margin for that game. Next game up is Friday night game. I'll be going to this game now. Obviously, as a Collingwood fan. The flag will be being unveiled. Pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully everything kicks off now for Collingwood. We've got an injury. Jeremy Howe coming back from injury as well. So that's a big in for us. Sydney looked really good. I'm not gonna lie. Sydney looked very very good last week. I had them finishing outside the 8. When I did my ladder prediction. But I think after watching them last week against Melbourne, they look like a very solid team. Very well drilled. There's good structure, good defensive structure. There's a lot of, they're a very well coached side, and it shows. Having said that, I do think the Pies should get the win today. You never know. You never know. I think Sydney can definitely upset us. They came a bit close last year as well. So, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a lot closer than maybe what I might think. I think it's going to be a 3 goal margin for Collingwood. I think maybe 17 points in and around that mark. The Pies should get the win, but you never know. You never know. I mean, Sydney are looking tough, and I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll really find out where they're really at, especially because they do have some tough games coming up. One being this game on Friday. So, yeah, we'll see how they go. But, yeah, I'm going to go with Collingwood by 17 for that one. Next up is the first Saturday game, and we've got Essendon and the Hawks. Now, I think Essendon should win. Looking at them last year, they started off really well. The Hawks have definitely improved. They're a lot better than they were last year, and they just got better and better as the year went on last year. So, I do think they're gonna, it's gonna be a closer game than people might think. But I think the Bombers should get the job done. I think you think surely, if Essendon lose this, that's that's putting a dagger for the top 8 hopes because this is a game they have to be winning. Round one, this is your first game of the season. You've got to be winning these games if you're trying to prove that, hey, we belong in the top 8. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Essendon by 13 points. Saturday, 4:35 p.m., we've got the Giants who just came off a big win against the Pies. Can't really say too much about that. I mean, yeah, the Pies were obviously undermanned down back and it cost us a lot physically. Physicality just wasn't there. And I just think, yeah, there's definitely a premiership hangover and stuff. But the Giants did an amazing job last week, and you got to give credit to them. They're looking like a really sharp team and pretty much locked in for the top 4. That's why I've got them, definitely beating the Roos. I think North Melbourne could, compete for like a quarter, maybe 2, but I just think they can't run out with GWS. I think GWS will eventually get a good lead. I think they'll win by 26, 27. It could be more, but I think North will try to keep it. I think GWS will manage the game a lot better. Slow the game down, speed it up, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. Where against a stronger side, you want to kind of go the whole time. Whereas against this opposition, you got to manage it well, and they'll get out to a few goals and then they slow it down. And I think 26 points, 27 points. That's pretty much what I'm expecting, but you never know. Never know. Could be closer. Could be more. Moving on to the next game, we've got the Cats at the Cattery against the Saints. Now, this one, I'm kind of in two minds about it because I can definitely see very easily St Kilda upsetting the Cats just because Geelong is not the team that they were a couple of years ago. So I definitely think St Kilda, like if you're looking at it from a ladder position, I definitely can see St Kilda finishing in the top 8, whereas Geelong is a bit more questionable. But I think these two teams should be in and around the same level. The only difference is, the fact that the Cats are at home, and having that crowd behind you for that first game is gonna matter. It's gonna, impact their motivation and their execution and stuff like that. But then it just comes down to whether or not they're able to actually, get the goals that they need to get, do what they need, and prevent St Kilda from scoring. We know St Kilda are a good defensive side. So if the Cats can get through them, and score the goals that they need to score, and then they've got the crowd behind them as well, that's going to only boost up their chances of winning this game. That's why I've gone for the Cats. Should be a close game though. I'll have the Cats by 4 points. Yeah, I'm going to go 4 points. I think this one should be a good game. Next up, Saturday, 10 p.m. It's a bit of a later game, but we've got the Gold Coast Suns up against the Adelaide Crows. Now, this one, a lot of people are going with the Gold Coast, with the Suns, and I understand that because initially I did go for Gold Coast, when I first was thinking about these tips, but then I started thinking, I'm like, look, there's a recency bias with the Gold Coast right now. We saw them play last week. They look really good, but then they look really good against a side that's probably going to finish towards the bottom of the ladder. So it's not really, enough to go, what, they should definitely win this game. 72% I think is harsh. I think people are underestimating how good Adelaide is. I mean, they were very close to a top 8 finish. They should have finished top 8. They were robbed of it. I just think they'll be really up for it. Adelaide, it's their first game of the season. They want to really get off to a good start. And I think they will. That's why I've got them tipped. I'll tip them by 7 points. 7 points. Moving on to Sunday. Melbourne against Bulldogs. Now, this one, off the back of that performance last week, Melbourne looked really shambolic. I thought they were going to be a lot better than what they were, even with all the off-season stuff. All the controversy and stuff that went down. I just thought they're going to all stick together and really kind of go, you know what, let's just let our footage do the talking. But they're not there yet. I think they need a bit of time. And this one is, I mean, the Bulldogs are good. They're a good team, but I think Sydney are a really good defensive team. They know how to defend really well behind the ball, whereas the Bulldogs can leak goals. And that's the difference maker for me, is Melbourne struggled to kick goals against Sydney because Sydney are very well drilled defensively. Western Bulldogs, on the other hand, are not the best defensive team. They can. We've seen it time and time again. A lot of teams can just kick a lot of goals against them very quickly. I think Melbourne, after that loss, will be up for it. That's why I have Melbourne tipped. It won't be a big margin. I think maybe 6-7 points is probably what I'm expecting. It could be a close game. I think it can go either way, but I think I'm going to go with Melbourne just because, look, they've got a good team. It's just about getting their mentality right now. And if they do that and they play well and they can execute and finish their goals, I just don't think the Bulldogs are going to hold them off defensively as well as Sydney did. And that'll open up Melbourne to score more goals. Then again, Bulldogs can also score a lot of goals. But yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning a bit more towards Melbourne, but very easily can see the Bulldogs pulling the upset. Next up is Port Adelaide and West Coast Eagles. Not too much needs to be said about this one. I think it's pretty straightforward. Port Adelaide should be comfortable winners, probably by 50, 55 points, maybe even more. The Eagles don't look too much better than what they were at last year. Obviously, they've got Harley Reid and a couple of other players in. But they've still got a long time to go to really challenge these kind of teams. Port Adelaide should be finishing in the top 8 quite easily. We're going to go for Port by 54. Let's go 54. And finally, the last game of the round, we've got the Freo Dockers up against the Lions. Now, I think this one, again, pretty straightforward. I think the Dockers, they've not looked good. They've just not looked like they've had a real identity. I could be proven wrong. This could be a game that they can surprise people, but I do have them tipped for a top 4 finish. Bottom 4 finish, sorry. Yeah, I don't see them being able to really compete with Brisbane for more than maybe 2 quarters. And then I can see Brisbane just kind of running away with it. I think it'll be about maybe 29, 30 point margin, something like that. The Lions should get the win, especially after losing the way they did against Carlton. I think that'll just make them realise how easy it is to lose these games, especially coming off losing the grand final as well. So I think that'll kind of be a good thing for them to happen. That kind of gets them to go, hey, we've got to be switched on 100% all the time. Otherwise, we can easily lose games or we can drop this or blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's it. Brisbane Lions, I think they'll win by, again, 29 points. Let's go with 29 points. But yeah, that's it. That's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And I'll catch you next week. Take care.